I'd like to start my talk today with a lie. Specifically, the original MIT Fab Lab motto that in a Fab Lab, you can make anything you can imagine. They later amended the clause to be almost anything, but still seems a trite bite overstated, doesn't it? Now, I'm going to get back to all of that, but before I do, some of you might be wondering what a Fab Lab is in the first place. Fab Lab is actually short for Fabrication Laboratory. It's a sort of modern day collaborative inventors workshop, a space for computer driven innovation, design, and fabrication. There are actually Fab Labs all over the world. You can see on the map here all these little dots everywhere, and there are more and more cropping up every day. They can be part of incubators, museums, schools, universities, all kinds of locations, and depending on the host institution, they have different functions and forms. Now, they have a conference every year, and you can see the last four here, Fab 10, Fab 11, Fab 12, and Fab 13, that happens all over the world. And then they also have an online training program called Fab Academy. And the focus of both of those things is largely about sharing ideas. The idea is that all the Fab Labs have similar software, similar tools, and similar ideologies, so they can share ideas between locations and share innovations. Some of their core ideologies include being open source, and being accessible to all kinds of people. Now, we strive to connect the global network to the local network by actively cultivating public engagement through community-focused art, entrepreneurship, research, and education. Now, as cool as this is, the MIT imagination must not be very big, because, what if I wanted to make the Yorktown space station from Star Trek? I don't know if anybody gets that reference, but go look it up. It's awesome. Sadly, you can't make anything at the Fab Lab. However, you can make a lot of things. This is our Fab Lab. It's pretty cool. It's actually the second oldest building on campus. It has these giant doors on the side that are on rails that have been stapled to the wall, but used to be able to slide the doors open, and horses on buggy would come into the lab, and there are these troughs where they'd push horse poop. That kind of gives you a sense of the state of the building. It is utterly falling apart. It is very much on a demolition list, but since our state is bankrupt, that works in our favor. It means this building is perpetually ours to modify and transform over all the time that we're there. It is just stuffed with gizmos like laser engravers, 3D printers, digital embroidery machines, screen printing, small electronics, tools for biohacking, graphic drawing tablets, CNC milling, robotics, and more I'm sure I'm forgetting. It is free and open to the community, and we have locations all around town in both public libraries and in after-school centers and computer basics for a local living assisted home. We offer open lab for free to anyone 6 days a week. We have classes for students at UAC supporting units from all over the campus, including business and art and areas like writing across media and liberal arts and sciences. We will help with consulting for teachers and researchers and small businesses. We run summer camps every summer. There's 300 kids that come through the lab and do all kinds of cool things. And we help to run events like CU Make, which is a hackathon that happens over the course of a weekend involving both community and university, where interdisciplinary teams try to solve problems like making the buildings around campus more accessible. This year, we have a new wave of open workshops for adults and families that we're opening up to the general public. We do research on how to bring making to everyone, like studying the culture and context of a Fab Lab we helped to open up in a Boys and Girls Club in rural Alaska, in Togiak, Alaska. We also have worked with developing and refining portable Fab Labs to go all around the state and partnering with organizations in Peoria and Southern Illinois to actually create a mobile, accessible lab type that could go in schools and libraries and other places, and also roam all around the state, literally being packed up into cars and trucks and carts and so on. Recently, we've been helping local middle schools to develop their own Fab Lab spaces as part of their regular STEM, which should be STEAM, classes to study metacognitive learning strategies as part of a large NSF grant. Fab Labs are a distinguished part of the do-it-yourself makerspace movement. In this sense, it's nothing new. Humans have been making for as long as we've been human. It's about falling barriers to entry and DIY culture. We have websites like Instructables and Thingiverse and YouTube, where I happily go to learn how to tie a tie every single time I have to tie a tie. This has been propped up by the White House Maker Initiative and popularized on media, and there are lots of ways that you can connect into this if you're interested in making. On the one hand, the undercurrent of this movement is very empowering, the idea that individuals can reinterpret and reconstruct the world around them. Karl Marx spoke about the dangers of alienation from the means of production, and perhaps makerspaces could help to battle that. At the lab, we teach creative mode Minecraft and 3D printing. Now, creative mode is the much better version. It's not about kids running around and killing each other or just running from zombies. It's more about a sandbox. You actually literally construct the world out of blocks and reconstruct it. Much of the game is imagined in stories, and it helps kids to actually literally think about the whole world around them as a series of rearrangeable blocks. But DIY is also a kind of lie. The DIY narrative, like many, relies on existing tropes and social structures. That lone geniuses, people like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, will invent technologically determined solutions in their garage that will save us from all of our troubles. Maybe it's just a false progress narrative. My childhood friend Gideon used to talk about this. It's not really solutions, it's actually just problem replacement. So instead of worrying about our next meal, we worry about how to find our one true love online. We come up with other different problems. This is not to say that life has gotten better in some ways and lifespans have increased, but people still suffer and there's still a lot of problems that people run into. We don't solve them all with technologies. Sometimes we make them worse. It's also just a permutation of the I was able to start my own business with a small loan of $1 million bit. Usually these geniuses have had a lot of external help or privileges, creating opportunities for them to succeed. Luckily, I'm not here today to exhume the debate of agency versus structure. I wouldn't be an activist if I didn't think the actions of individuals mattered. I was recently asked in an interview what I thought the meaning of design thinking was. Off the cuff, I just rambled on and kind of hit keywords about failure and iteration and user-centered design. But what I should have actually said, was that the best design thinking is DIWO, when you do it with others. Because that's what I think really makes it matter, and how it really works, if we're going to be honest. DIWO promotes experimental artistic processes rather than top-down utilitarian or theoretical concerns. It disrupts traditional hierarchies and concepts of ownership with decentralized peer-to-peer practices. And it involves diverse participants, ideas, and social ecologies. There are a lot of ideas on this. Furtherfield has done a good job of talking about this, but I really think doing it with others helps you get outside of a very constrained context, and it helps you escape from things that are like just product development or just designed to think about a narrowly defined problem. Now, a lot of you are watching this, and I'm promoting this idea of making together. And I want you to get to know your making community. So I wanted to help, put my money where my mouth is and help guide you on how you might start to do that here. Most people don't make things in a vacuum. They get ideas from the world around them. They ask for help from people and remix one another's work. I think the best innovations come from cognitive diversity, a multiplicity of ideas and inputs from people of all kinds. That's why our Fab Lab looks like it does. So the first thing that I'd like you to check out is Makerspace-Urbana. They're like a club of makers. You don't even necessarily have to be good at making or have an experienced set of making skills to go there, which is also the case of the Fab Lab, but it's you can go there and just socialize, and that's perfectly fine. Every year they run a Maker Fest, and so this is a large gathering where you have all kinds of people with tables, and there's anything from rockets to puppets to like the coolest little drone. It's this teeny drone which somehow has unlimited battery life. It can fly upside down and through ductwork, and it could be in like a spy movie. And then there'll be activities for kids who make and lots of local makers, and they do music and sometimes speakers, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. And so I'd really encourage you to go check out the Maker Fest. If you are a maker of some kind, you could have a table there. It doesn't have to be a crazy duct flying drone. It can be something as simple as your own art or origami that you've been doing forever. And then you can also check out Makerspace-Urbana. They have events regularly and really want to welcome in all kinds of people. There are a lot of local makers, artists in town, and I'd encourage you to talk to them about what they do and ask them about how they got started. Our lab helps to support a number of these people, but these people are our kinds of entrepreneurs. They're not Mark Zuckerbergs. They're not people trying to create the next big thing in the entire universe. They're passion creators. They're Etsy artists. They're not seeking venture capital. Here you can see Brianna Lawrence and Suzanne Linder, who both make all kinds of creative things, sort of mocking a lot of the troubles that we have in adult life that many of you might be able to identify with. Some of you might also remember Judy Lee, who actually gave a Pechakucha a few years back, and she has now successfully kickstarted 2 books, children's books, and she's made a lot of those books at the Fab Lab. She used the digital drawing tablet and some of the software there initially, and then she's made a bunch of the Kickstarter rewards, like the little plushies, to give away. We also have people like Max Santowski, who's doing all kinds of unusual art that really kind of disrupts the typical ways we might think about something, and oftentimes involves a remixing or playing upon ideas that we don't typically like to talk about. The Fab Lab also runs tons and tons of summer camps. We're always redoing them every summer. We have new groups of kids. We're trying to reach younger and get in high school interns. And I can actually just literally go across the pictures here and read some of the examples. So we've done plushy robots, costume foam armor, animated storytelling with digital drawing tablets, making inventions where the kids come up with an invention idea and work on it all week and then present it at the end, doing robotics, learning to sew, electronic paper circuits and other paper activities, making masks, and spy devices and challenges. And we're hoping next year to offer some kind of escape room design camp. Truly accessible makerspaces aren't full of just a few ultra-powerful tools stuck in a basement or in a locked lab for the use of a privileged or approved bunch or a certain major of students. They strive to make gear and ideas available for as many folks as possible. For the cost of a single MIT specification Roland electronic cutter, we can buy an entire classroom full of little silhouette portrait cutters and bring these to all kinds of people, either in a community location like the ones you see on the map here, or by actually stuffing them into a car and then driving them out to people. We know not everyone can get to campus or afford our summer camps. We've made it our mission to make low-cost making available. Teens can visit the public libraries in town and make much of the same stuff we have in our big lab, and we're working on making this part of what actually happens in public schools, as I mentioned with that grant prior. More importantly, we're trying to build communities of support around making, so you're not just making alone, so people aren't just starting this on their own, so they can plug into existing resources and organizations that are already doing this. We want to help you link into that network. We don't want you to just do it alone. So coming back to that original lie. No, you can't make anything you can imagine in the Fab Lab, but we can certainly make a lot more together. Now, I've gone through this very quickly. A lot of the information I've talked about today is on our website. You can also visit us in person or check us out on YouTube and watch videos there. We'd be happy to get to know you.